Good evening, everybody. Welcome along to the Matchday Live preview in association with Standard Chartered, coming from a very sunny Stamford Bridge in West London, with Liverpool looking to cure their travel sickness after yet another defeat on the road at Manchester City on Saturday. Ray Houghton is alongside me. The PA is just being tested. Perfect timing. We will debrief that defeat to the champions City. We will talk about the reaction that Jurgen Klopp has asked for the sacking of the Chelsea manager Graham Potter just a day after Chelsea lost here to Aston Villa, and Ray will pick his 11 for this game this evening. But Liverpool just can't win away from home, Ray, and it happened once again at the Etihad on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the season so far, 14 games, isn't it? 3 wins, 3 draws, 8 defeats. It's been a long time since we've had 8 away defeats in a season, I can assure you. And I can't really put my finger on the reason why. Why is the home form so different to the away form? Yeah, I know the home support's behind you, and you know it's a familiar surroundings that you're in. But it's just the level of performance, and it's a complete difference when you play at home to away. And I was down at Bournemouth, having just beaten Manchester United 7-0. You think you're going to back up with a good away performance against a team that was struggling and near the foot of the table. It was anything but that. You know, we've gone back to the old way of playing again, where we were slow in possession. You know, we're not defending well enough, giving up too many chances, not playing the ball forward quickly enough, often enough. And then we go to Manchester City, get off to a great start. I actually thought they were a little bit vulnerable. I know Pep came out afterwards and said he thought
it was perfect.
Yeah, perfect performance from minute 1 to minute 9. I didn't quite go along with that. You know, just on what I observed, I thought they were there for the team, because I thought they were playing a very high line. They were leaving a lot of room in behind. Liverpool exposed it a few times. There was once where I think it was moment down the left-hand side, and he tried to square it, and it was Jack Grealish of all players that got back there for Manchester City and got a block in. Because I think Jota was coming in from the right-hand side, and that could have made it 2-0. That would have been huge, as far as that was concerned. Then there was the controversy with Rodri. Should have been a second yellow or not. You know, a little bit lucky, I thought, fortuitous not to have been given the second yellow, and he would have been off. So they were the game-changing moments. But then we go to 1-1. OK, we were OK in the first half. But once again, the start of the second half, switch off, but like we did against Real Madrid. And then it's playing catch-up, and we're nowhere near good enough. They went 2-1 up to getting anything out of the game, and then it was a matter, I thought, just watching Man City, how many goals they were going to score.
And the wider point is, because it is the most difficult game in English football, you would say, away at Manchester City, but when you take the away form over the course of a season into consideration, as you said, it's been Bournemouth, it's been Brentford, it's been Brighton, it's been Wolves. Southampton and Leicester have both got more points away from home than Liverpool, and if they're the sort of numbers you're looking at, then you can kiss goodbye to the top 4.
Well, I think the manager sort of, you know, hinted towards that after the game against Man City. I thought he was brutally honest, you know, and he'll be absolutely dumbfounded what's going on. You know, in his 7 years at the club, to have seen where the players have taken the team to, you know, the trophies that they've won, the finals that they've been in, running Manchester City as close as they did was at a point last season from winning the championship. That's how good they've been. And how much they've regressed from last season to this season is quite unbelievable. And as I say, for the manager, he must be thinking, oh, what am I doing different in training? Am I working them too hard? Am I not working them enough? Have we changed, you know, the routines that we were doing? So he'll be trying to second-guess himself and his coaching staff on what they should be trying to do to improve things. But ultimately, it's down to the players. The players are the ones that go and play. Once you cross that white line, it's up to the lads that are out there, and there has to be more of a togetherness about them. I'll give you a couple of examples. On Saturday, playing Man City, there was once where Andrew Robertson gets caught out of position. He's too high up the field. Then what happens is there's a catalogue of errors after that. Virgil goes around to cover. Canati comes around to cover, and then Trent's forced into coming into cover, which leaves Jack Grealish free on the far side. So one mistake, him pushing too far on, makes second mistake, third mistake, fourth mistake, which leads to goals. So there's little reasons why things happen. If Andrew Robertson had stayed in his position, instead he's he thinks he's doing the right thing by running in there, actually just stayed in the left-back position, you don't get mistake 2, 3 or 4. You don't get mistake 1, and then you're nice and solid. So they're the little things that has to be addressed. Giving away silly goals at really important times in games. You know, when you've gone 1-0 up, keep it at 1-0 for a while. If you can go and get a second, great. You're hitting them on the counter-attack. They're vulnerable to balls over the top. Keep doing that. Now, don't disappoint the strikers by putting the balls in behind, because that's where we're going to get goals. And then we stop doing that. And then we start making silly mistakes and people running into positions where they can't affect the game. They think they can, but they're not really. And then just everyone's getting pulled out of positions. And at the moment, we just look defensively that we're going to give up chances all the time. And I just don't mean as a back four. I mean, the midfield aren't getting close enough. They're allowing players to run in behind them. Gundogan's running off us on Saturday. De Bruyne's running off of us. No one's picking them up. There's no organisation. We just look like we were a team that didn't know each other's game.
And that's the point about defensively. When you try and press as a team, it's not just about the back four. It's if there's one cog in the machine that doesn't work, then the rest of it falls apart very quickly.
Yeah, if you get the front three press and then your midfield don't get up behind them, then they're just going to play
There's a massive gap.
Yeah, because the good players will sense where the space is. They'll know instinctively. Like the three have pressed us, but the midfield haven't. So there's a gap between them and the midfielders. So when you go, you have to concertina together. Everyone's got to push up together as a unit. And then there's no spaces. And if they want to go over the top, then it's a foot race. And then your goalkeeper, as Alisson has been for the last number of years he's been at the club, he's brilliant at reading things. He will be off his goal line in on the penalty spot, waiting for the ball over top and anticipating where the ball's going to go. That's what we were the very best. We're one of the best teams in the world at playing that pressing game. But we've gone away from it. You know, we're not doing it as a collective. We're doing it individual. We're doing it in twos. You can't do it like that. Good teams will pick you off.
It's interesting that you were talking about Jurgen Klopp and how he might be sort of pulling his hair out a little bit in the frustration. And it felt a significant change in his tone that after that defeat at Wolves, and I think you were with us for the next game, which was the derby, he'd said to them, go away for a couple of days, clear your heads, whereas now it's been a real sense of frustration. I think they're in for a meeting the following day after the defeat at Manchester City, and he is saying, look, I can't do this much more. You need to give me something extra. You need to stop being so inconsistent for this run into the finish line.
I think the problem we've got at the moment, Robbie, is you've been trying to have this conversation too often this season. That's the problem.
Yeah.
You know, you can do it once or twice where you can come in and maybe have a go at the players and say, right, come on, you've got to do better, blah, blah, blah. And you get a response for it. But if he's thinking, I can't go and do that again, I've got to try and think of other ways to get the best out of the team, you really need the players to get away from the manager and the coaching staff and get together as a collective and say, what are we doing wrong? What are we doing wrong? We're in it together. It's us that are in it. You know, when the team's playing badly, it's us that's going to get the blame. You know, and rightly so. We're the ones that are not playing to our potential. Why aren't we doing that? What are we not doing as a group to influence matches? How can we make it better? That's what the best teams have done in the past. When I was at Liverpool, we went through a rocky patch now and again. That's exactly what happened. And now and again, it got very, very heated to the extent.
That's what you want, isn't it?
Yeah, but you've got to do it in a respectful way as well. You know, I'm not saying that you need to go there and you know and you end up you don't have to do that, but you have to be open and honest about where you are, and the players have got to be open and honest about the performance level. You know, why I'm not sure they do. You know, question themselves. Why aren't I playing at the level I was playing at last season, the season before that, and the season before that? What am I doing differently? Is it different in my routine? Is it different in my home life, my lifestyle? What is it? And you've got to try and figure out what it is, and then get on there and give it 100% every game, and make sure you're disciplined, and make sure you're professional in your attitude every minute that you're on the pitch.
For all Liverpool's problems, they arrive here tonight with Chelsea in even worse shape, having just sacked Graham Potter, the shortest-serving permanent Chelsea manager ever. There's been a huge transition at Chelsea this season, so is it those above Potter, is it Potter himself, or is it Potter's players that should take the biggest proportion of the blame for Chelsea being in the bottom half?
Well, look, listen, there's a lot of people that you could look at, you know, from should Graham Potter got the job in the first place. Look, Graham done a great job at Brighton. He took them to a level of consistency and performance, hence the reason why Chelsea were looking at him. You know, they thought he was going to be the man that was going to take them on, that his way of doing things on the pitch and training was going to be a huge influence on the Chelsea player. That wasn't the case. Something went wrong somewhere behind the scenes. The fans, I'm not sure, took to Graham as much as they might have done with another manager. It might be the fact that Graham hadn't won anything at any club. You know, they've just come on the back of Tuchel Go, who'd won the Champions League with them. So there was a variety of reasons from that. But it comes down to your recruitment policy. You have to get your recruitment policy. And I've been talking about this for the last few weeks to different people about this. Just because you spend 80 million on a player or 100 million, it doesn't mean you're going to get the finished article on the pitch. You don't know how he's going to suit your team. It's a gamble. You can go and spend as much as you want, but you don't know how they're going to interact with the other players, how they're going to, if it's a player that comes from Brazil or whatever it may be, you don't know how they're going to play in the Premier League. That's the gamble that you take. But Chelsea have took a huge gamble when it comes to the finances of the club, how they've spent their money. Whereas it's somewhere in the region of 500 million or thereabouts.
600, yeah.
Well, there you go. It's even more than I thought it was. I thought it was around about 500 million. So they've took this huge gamble, bringing in these young players who haven't quite worked out yet. That's not to say that maybe in a year or two it might happen. But to see where Chelsea are, to see where Liverpool are in the league, and a game like tonight, you would be thinking this game was absolutely huge, because it wouldn't just have been about getting to the top four. You thought one of these two might be vying for the title itself. That's how far they've fallen off as far as trying to get into the top four or even try to win the league this season. And Chelsea, they're renowned, I just have to go back in history, renowned for getting rid of managers. But when they've done that, it's normally on the back of a manager who've actually won things. And that isn't the case, and they look a long way away from it at the moment.
Just a point that you made there a couple of times about Potter being a manager who hadn't won anything. As a player, do you sort of stop listening a bit quicker in a dressing room if you're thinking, well, what have you done? Whereas if you're looking at Thomas Tuchel or Jurgen Klopp and think, well, you've done everything there is to do in football management, I'm going to hang on your every word a little bit more.
I would have been a bit different. I would have given him the respect that he deserves as manager. He's here for a reason. The board and the chairman and the owner thought he was good enough to come here. I would have looked at what he'd done at Brighton and the football that they played, and I would have said, yeah, he could be good for us. So you always give someone a chance. You give them the benefit of the doubt to go and show what they can do. And who knows, he could have been a huge success here and won plenty of trophies, and then no one would have been talking about it. So at some stage you've got to win your first trophy somewhere, and then you can move on. And I feel sorry for Graham, because he got a lot of players coming in. How many of them were his signings? I don't know. That was one of the things you'd have to question. Did he want to bring them in? Did he have a system in place that he was going to play? And I'll give you an example where, when you're struggling as a manager, when I've seen Reece James one of the three centre-backs and Cucurella the other. And when you've got players on the bench who are actually centre-halves who can't get into them positions, so it looks like you're trying to find a team that's going to win you matches, and you're trying anyone in different positions to try and get to that position. Maybe the reason why the owners have thought maybe it's time to move on. But I don't blame Graham for taking the job on in the first place, because this is a great club. It's got a great history. It's been a winning machine over the years, and he probably felt he could come here and do that job. And it's never great when a manager loses his job. And there's been far too many this season, Rob. 13, I think, they've counted already, which is unbelievable. I've never seen it happen in the Premier League before. And it comes down to the money that's in the game and the fear of getting relegated, or a manager might not take you on as far as you want. Look, it was the owners here and the chairman that's made the decision as far as who should be their manager. There'll be a lot of people outside of it who thought that Graham might had to have gone. I personally might have given him a bit more time, at least a season, to see what you can do. Particularly with the players that he brought in, he's not going to gel them all straight away, and I thought it was a bit harsh, to be honest, to remove him from his duties.
You just spoke about playing three at the back and changing things, which brings us nicely on to your 11, because you think that it's maybe high time that Liverpool try something a fraction different.
I'd like to just see us try it. Look, when you've had a bad game as he did on Saturday, I would try and keep a lot of the players that played in that game, because if it was me who played on Saturday and I got beaten that manner, I'd be asking the manager to play me. Look, get me on that pitch. I'll show you what I really can do. And this is a perfect game to do that against a team, as you say, who struggle. But they'll be putting on a performance tonight. They have to. The home support will be right on their back if they're not. If they're not on it, they'll be telling them, look, you've got rid of the manager, whatever the case may be. Now it's up to you now. You can't keep blaming the manager now. It's down to you as players to perform. So here's a pitch. Go and show us what you can do. And I was imagine with the Liverpool players will be exactly the same tonight. The manager would be unhappy with what's happened. You said that he brought them in for a meeting, probably to reflect on the game and where they went wrong in that second half. But I've gone with three at the back. I'd like to see us just try. I know it's not Jurgen's way, and I don't know if he's ever played. I think I've heard once he might have played it in his time here. But I'd like to see having a little bit more solidity at the back. Free up our fullbacks a little bit, where they were not always worrying about defending. And I've went with. I'm not sure if Virgil's fit. If he is, I'd put him in that position. I'd have Kanate and Matip alongside him. I've gone with Trent as a right wing back, Robbo as a left wing back. I've gone with two sitting midfielders in Milner and Henderson. Just ahead of him, I've gone for Bobby Firmino. I just think you need someone to link the play. We've got to get someone in that area field to get on the ball, confident, comfortable, in a central position there to get turned and start slotting balls. So I heard Mo Salah, there might be a doubt about him, so I left Mo out and I've gone with Darwin and Cody Gakpo up front. I just think with two big lads up there running in behind who like to, Cody likes to come short, get turned on, but he likes to drive, whereas Darwin likes to run in behind. And if you've got Bobby Firmino in there, someone who can see the pass, then you've got the options and the bases covered. So that was the sort of team I would have gone for. The manager might go for a completely different thing because of what happened on Saturday. He might think, you know what, I need to make a change. I need to shake things up and go in a different direction, because there's no doubt what he'll be thinking about is, what do I do at the start of next season? Who's the players I can rely on? Who's the players that I'm going to have to shift on, and the ones that need game time, because they're going to be very much part of my plans next season.
Well, we shall see exactly what Jurgen Klopp does at 7 o'clock tonight, which is when our Matchday Live programme gets underway. Ray and myself will still be here at Stamford Bridge. Full audio commentary to come from 8 o'clock, and then the Matchday reaction from 10, featuring interviews from the tunnel here at Stamford Bridge. Liverpool find themselves pretty much in the last chance saloon as far as reaching the top four goes. Can they get a vital and long overdue 3 points on the road? We'll find out a little bit later on. Bye-bye for now.